That process of theirs works on 62 out of the 64 known radioactive isotopes. And it removes enough of these 62 radionuclides, as they're called, in order to bring the concentration levels below Japan's regulatory limits. Then, once this ALPS treatment process is complete, the water is then stored in another tank while the concentrated slurry byproduct, which contains all the contaminants, is stored in a separate facility. However, it's worth noting that as good as the ALPS process appears to be, it does not remove two of the known radioactive isotopes, namely carbon-14 as well as tritium. Now, tritium, also known as hydrogen-3, is chemically identical to normal water, which is exactly why separating it from wastewater is expensive, energy-intensive, and just generally very hard and time-consuming. But as far as radioactive elements go, tritium appears to be relatively benign. From the research, it's been shown to pass through living organisms in a similar way to water, and it doesn't appear to strongly accumulate in the bodies of living things. And just as a fun fact, tritium is what's often used to create the glow-in-the-dark effect on watches. The known problem, though, is that as tritium decays, it gives off a beta particle that can damage DNA if it's ingested. But then the positive side is that this beta particle is not very energetic, meaning that a person would need to ingest a lot of it in order to get a significant dose of radiation. And so as a whole, high doses of tritium appear to be dangerous, but extremely microscopic doses might not be. At least, that's the theory that the Japanese chose to run with. And so what they've been doing at that facility is diluting the treated water so that it's 1 part wastewater, 100 parts seawater. This dilution process, theoretically at least, makes the relative level of carbon-14 as well as tritium acceptable and safe. Now, the company that's actually physically in charge of this process is the Tokyo Energy Production Company, otherwise known as TEPCO. They're the ones I mentioned earlier that operate this nuclear facility. And when speaking about this process of releasing the wastewater into the ocean, their officials said that the resulting concentration of tritium in the final solution that actually hits the ocean is around 1,500 becquerels per liter. And the becquerels per liter is a measure of the amount of radioactivity in a given substance. And the level that they claim to have achieved is actually significantly lower than the guidelines for tritium in drinking water that were put out recently by the World Health Organization. In a report that you can see up on your screen titled Guidelines for Drinking Water Quality, the World Health Organization wrote that in terms of tritium, 10,000 becquerels per liter is acceptable. And so the 1,500 becquerels per liter that the Japanese were able to achieve with their dilution process is well below that limit, meaning that as long as you trust the guidelines that were put out by the WHO, this water is well within the limits that are safe for humans. However, it appears that not everyone trusted this water to indeed be safe.